Over here in the Market Steer Ring, your first class in the ring will be Class 1 of our ABC division. These steers will weigh 10.99 through 12.24.
Another excellent class here in your Purebred show. I think the top three heifers kind of come to the top for us. In terms of just completeness and structure, the heifer we're going to go ahead and use to win the class. Granted, she is a notch heavier condition than the heifer in second. She's probably carrying a little more condition through her throat and front end. But when compared to the heifer in second, we like the shoulder angle, the knee set to the heifer that wins better than the heifer in second. With those advantages in terms of front end structure, we also think she's got a little more power and dimension down her top, and we need to get in behind her and probably sets on a shot more structure. No doubt the heifer in second is a shade more elegant up through her neck. She's more slender in her neck and smoother in her shoulder. She's just a little fresher condition. With that freshness, she still has a beautiful rib to her. We just want to change her a little bit when you get her out on the move. She is more upright in her shoulder, which actually makes her compensate a little bit and get her hind leg up under her just a bit. The young man's heifer is another one we like from a structure standpoint. Tremendous feet on this heifer, really good angles on this heifer, really fluid and balanced both at the stand and on the move because she's got the right proportions. Today she's just a little greener and underweight compared to those heifers. The young man does a nice job. On the other end of the spectrum, we got a great big high performing one that without doubt is the highest weight per day of age heifer in the class. You got to appreciate her width, the top, and her dimension. A heifer that just wants to pull up in her belly a little bit and get a little straighter off her front end. I think the next two heifers are a little closer, but I think there's just more eye appeal and quality and balance in the young lady's heifer in front of us. A female that I think once she relaxes and gets more broke, I think is the one you're going to get a better read on her structure. Today she's just wanting to get a little choppy off of both ends. And the heifer that comes out next probably is a little smoother on the move, just not quite the elegance and style of the heifer in front of her.
Well, congratulations in the Simental ring. Results out of Class 30. First place exhibited by Cal Robinson of Cushing, Oklahoma, with BTYL Chicken of the Sea 632L. Second place in that class exhibited by Caitlin Cloud of Carthage, Missouri. Third place went to Lily Asher of Greenburgh, Indiana. Fourth place go to Tyler Norman, Seminole, Oklahoma. And fifth place went to Sheffield Ranch of Poolville, Texas. Now in the ring will be Class 31. These are purebred Simental heifers born March of 23.
As we get started over here on the steer show, surely it's my pleasure and couldn't be more excited to come back to the Cattlemen's Congress and judge this level of steer show for what we're going to see. What a way to start here in your American division here with 3 steers at the lighter weight cattle that still got some future to them. But, for me, as we talk about them and we're going to go and how we're going to pick them today and some things that, this steer to go ahead and win the class does so for me, just muscle, balance, the way he puts some things together, his proportionality for his shape. I like his extra turn down his top and out his hip. He's still a stout, structured individual. And standing there, he is the best in terms of his angles of this drive of cattle. There's times I'd like to maybe see him get down on his pasture just a little better as he moves, but he's a stout, burly, market-looking steer. I think does a nice job. Young man did a good job with him. Now, second and third, I think we've got some debate in terms of where you'd want to go. We've got some structure and balance issues that we'd maybe change. I chose to use the hairy one here that's big-backed and big-hipped to go ahead and go in second. He gives us a look of a show steer. But when you break him down a little bit, he's a little uneven like we kind of get in breeding our show steers today in terms of hoof. I would like to change where he's at there. He's a little more dried out in terms of his rear rib and flank, but I think you just change his structure for me to a little bit more comfortable to make him more competitive with the steer to win the class. Young man steer here in third. He's shapely in terms of mid shape. He's one that loses his balance maybe a little bit more when we put him into motion. Gets a little more rounded in terms of his hip, a little more in there. I just didn't know if there's quite the power with the steer right ahead of him, but I like his center body. I like his shape. Nice way to start. Good job, young man.
Well, congratulations over here in the Market Steer Show, Class 1 of our ABC Steers. First place will go to Jacob Schickendans. Second place and congratulations went to Case Waltershield. And third place and congratulations will go to Gunnar Warren. Now in the ring, we'll bring in Class 2 of our ABC division. Following this class, we will select the Champion Reserve ABC Market Steer. For those of you just joining us, we currently have Class 31 in our Purebred Simental show in the ring. Over here in Ring 2, we have Class 2 of our ABC Market Steers.
really a powerful class here, and the heifer over there in third is a very nice female, but she ran into two that have a bright future that I think can go anywhere and compete. We went back and forth on these two heifers, and there's advantages that go either way. To us, what came down to when you get the cattle on the side view, the heifer we're going to go ahead and start with has an advantage in terms of length. She's about 4 inches longer from the point of her shoulder back to her pins, but still with that, she has that big swooping rib cage to her. A heifer that she is a little farther along than the heifer in second. Female that when you get them out on the move, she probably sets down flatter and more correct out of her hock. But I think when you get them coming at you, the heifer in second probably comes a little truer within her skeleton than the heifer we start the class with. The heifer in second is just an amazing neck set on this heifer and the way that comes out of the top side of her shoulder. For as green as she is, she's so robust and shapely in her rib and in her design out through her hip. She is the heavier boned, bigger footed of the two. I think today you just got to go with that extra length and body. We would like to change the heifer in second a little bit. She wants to roll just a little on her outside toes. Maybe wants to make her bow just a tick. Two heifers with a great, very bright future. The heifer in third gives you an elite look on the side. Man, she's good looking up through her front end. She's so balanced in her silhouette from her shoulder back. Good hind leg, just needs to travel better out of her front end. We ended up switching the two baldies. We thought the bigger, heavier one was also the sounder in the end, so she got up over the heifer that was right behind her that was maybe a little nicer necked, but not as big bodied and not as sound. Sure, a good one coming out next that's got body shape, a heifer that doesn't have quite that eye appeal of some of the heifers we have in front of her.
Out in our second class of American steers, and 4 really nice steers to look and talk about. And I think the top end gets really exciting when you look and break them apart, because I think we've got some gives and takes between them top two, and I think as we break them down a little bit more. But the black steer, he hits me hard in terms of my kind. I like his softness, the way he's put some things together. He's big back. He's got dimension right in there behind him. He's a stout-legged calf that still balances up really, really well. His advantage to go ahead and win over the gray calf as we go is when you put him in motion, he's more confident, more secure in terms of the way he utilizes his hind leg with all those extras you get from him from a look and presence. The gray steer in second, some things you just love about him. I mean, you start up there at his front end, his neck comes out of his shoulder, but he's good and clean about his front end. He's bold and robust in terms of his top and his center body. I like those things about him. He's got some muscle shape. He's probably a stout bone, doesn't have the leg hair of our class winner, but the biggest thing where this one comes in second, to me, he gets a little more tentative in terms of the way he moves on, drives off of his hind leg. I'd like to improve him there a little bit, but make no doubt about that is a really, really good built, high-quality steer. Steer in third, meat and potatoes, power. He's got some center body. He's got width and dimension. With that, he gets just a little extra shoulder, and I'd like to blend him a little bit from his shoulder for his forerib on how I like cattle a little bit, but you sure like his shapeliness, his muscularity, and some things he gives us there. Young lady here on the far end, she brings us a good sided. He's got a little length of body, but his centered body dimension, forerib to rear flank, is as good as any within the class. He's still long and good about his front end. He just gets a little flatter, a little more nondescript from a muscle standpoint. You get right in there behind him. But young lady has still got a really nice calf, does a really good job of showing. A really good, nice class again here over here in your American steer side.
Well, congratulations in Class 2 of our ABC Market Steer Show. First place will go to Heston Turner. Second place went to Madison Cope. Third place will go to Mason Cope. And fourth place will go to Layla Smith. We're now going to bring those first and seconds in, select the champion reserve, ABC Market Steer.
Wow, wow, what a really nice class of heifer calves here, and Tyler and I both agree a lot on this class winner here. We think this thing is just built incredibly well from the ground up, and her angles are so good. Is she the biggest, topped, thickest thing out here in this particular class? No, but for her age, she is so proportional and built on a really, really nice skeleton, and we just appreciate that very, very much with this brockle-headed heifer. The young man's there, we were looking here at these two heifers for second and third here, and we just think the one in two slides up there just because she's more like our class winner in terms of her mobility. She gets out and travels fluid and easy. She's fighting the inexperienced showman there a little bit, but you know, she does get out and move. When she relaxes, she's a nice, complete kind of a heifer. The heifer that we really like standing still is this heifer here in third. When she come in, she kind of grabbed my attention, and I mean, they've done such a good job fitting on this heifer, and she's presented to the nines. But, you know, the problem with her, she's super good to look at, but when you put her in motion, she just labors off of both ends, and more particularly out of her front end. But a high quality heifer there. The young lady's red heifer that we're going to come out here in fourth, again, just ran into three high quality heifers that were maybe a little more eye appealing and attractive than her, but that's a really nice female that is practical, built real well, gets out and goes nice, maybe just is a little plainer in her makeup, if you will, within this class. The same could be said for the young lady's second red heifer there, a little plainer, maybe a little choppier, but a nice kind of a female. Then the young lady wins the showmanship contest for me, I can tell you that, and done a really good job having her set up. Her heifer just doesn't have the amount of mobility that we'd like to see. She kind of paddles a little bit as she goes. But again, the young lady does a nice job. Let's give that class of exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Over here on your steer side, sure compliment the exhibitors here in the American Steer Drive. We've got four individuals here that have got a tremendous amount of quality. They got some show steer looks, they've got some power, got some dimension. Little guy in the first class, you know, we talked about him being so shapely, got some turn to his hip and his quarter, has still got some bone, still gives us a really good attractive look when the young man gets him set up. As we break him apart a little bit, he's a little disappointed as you get right in there behind him. You'd like to make see him open up a little bit more width, but yet still a very nice individual. You know, the steer out of that big class is one that just so captivating to take a look at. He's highly presented, but he's ultra in terms of balance, look, still got a big top and upper hip, just like his balance and bone. He is the one I'm by far most comfortable with and the kind I look and go for. But give this young man a nice round of applause, champion this division. And then we turn right around for reserve at this division. I thought it was a close placing in that class, so quite easily the gray steer will be reserved. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations over here in their steer ring. Your champion ABC Market steer coming out of Class 2, that's Heston Turner. Reserve champion will also come out of Class 2, that's Madison Cope. And third overall in that division will also come out of Class 2, that was Mason Cope. We're now going to welcome in Class 3. This will be your first class of our British steers. These steers weigh 1040 through 1235. Back over in the Simental ring, we have your spring heifer calf drive in the ring. Results out of the final class. First place exhibited by Levi Buchanan, Waxahachie, Texas, with J. Saul American Pride 3195L. Second place was exhibited by Red River Farms of Grand Saline, Texas, Third place went to Aubrey Neal of Osgood, Indiana. Fourth place went to Diana Dunstan of Bellevue, Florida. Fifth place went to Kylie Richardson of Wagner, Oklahoma. And sixth place went to Emma Chamberlain of Colcamp, Missouri. Our judges are now going to select their champion reserve spring heifer calves.
As we get over here in first class of British steers and four, nice steers, a little lighter weight type individuals, and we can sure compliment all of them. Steer to go ahead and start what does so pretty handedly. I think he's very fresh in terms of his look and appearance. Very muscular in terms of his top. He's punchy when you get behind him in terms of having some power up high. Still carries some inner and outer stifle to him that I like. Still gets around the ring, but I thought his look and presence, I thought just pretty handily to go ahead and win this class. Steer in second, I think one, and not to talk about handle all the time, but you get your hands on him, that thing is way bigger in terms of top and shape, the way he opens up in terms of turn. I really like that about him. He's not near as sharply clipped, I guess you could say, in terms of our class winner, but boy, he is thick top, thick ended, still relatively good in balance. balance. I think that's a really good practical kind of cattle that puts them positive together really well. You know, third and fourth, I thought we had some debate, but where I chose to use the red steer just in terms of, you know, body and doability. He's still got some muscle, got some shape to him, still has some, you know, fast steer look to him at this weight. They're going to have to, you know, a little more days on feed to get close to where we would want to talk them as being market cattle. But I think he's putting some of them things together really well, and I think it's just like his practicality and kind. As I told a young man coming out here with the roan steer to bringing up the class, you know, within the 4 in this drive, he got just a little flatter in terms of his muscle shape, a little frailer in terms of his bone work. I said he just lacks a little bit of maturity. I think he's still sound, moves as good as any of the 4 cattle in this class. I think once he gets matured up for this young man, I think he's going to have a good day as he aims him for OYE. I think that's a nice calf and a very good class.
Over here in the purebred Simental ring, really a nice division of cattle like we've seen all day. A lot of differences in type and kind, but plenty of options here. The young man's heifer that won that first class, she was one when compared to the heifer in second, we thought was a better combination of being one of the 2 stout or sounder heifers, but having a little more to her and being a little further along. The heifer out of the next class is one that we really like from a bone standpoint, a foot standpoint. We love her in her forerib and the way she comes out of the backside of her shoulder. She's really powerful and dimensional from her hooks back and her pins down. A heifer that when you get her out on the move, moves good enough. She's maybe not as long and elegant as a couple of the other heifers out here, but one we definitely like. The heifer out of the next class is another one that she won that class because she was a little sounder out of her shoulder and knee than the heifer that sat right behind her. She's a dimensional heifer that's got enough to her and a good enough look. Maybe doesn't have quite the quality and pizzazz that a couple of the other ones we have out here do. The next class was a pair of heifers that we liked. Both of those heifers a great deal. This heifer, where we like her the best, is when you see her on the stand from the point of her shoulder back to her pins, she's so long, yet she's nice fronted and she's got a lot of swoop rib. A female that we did criticize, we would like for her to not maybe push quite as much as she comes at you out of her front end, but that's pretty nitpicky on a really good heifer. The heifer that was second to her in class is one we talked about, just so stout the ground, so robust in her ribs, still yet juvenile and young, and has a bright future. Then the heifer out of the last class that, to be honest, hit us pretty hard. That is a very good looking animal from the side. So fresh and sleek, and in terms of her condition, you know, she is skinnier than the one in front of her, but probably has just as much natural rib shape, as much shape from behind. We think she's probably as sound as anything out here. We do think she does want to roll every once in a while on her non-show side hind leg, but I think the shape of her feet, you know, I think is something that she sets down flat. We think that there's a lot of options out here, and you can go different ways depending on what your priorities were. But we simply looked at each other and said, if we're loading one up for our daughters to show which one's going to be, we agreed on the same one, so Scott's going to go pick her.
Well, congratulations over in the Simental ring. Your champion Spring Heifer Calf coming out of Class 32. That was Levi Buchanan, Waxahachie, Texas, with J. Saul American Pride, 3195L. Back over to the steer ring. Results out of our first class of British steers. First place exhibited by Destiny Potter. Second place went to Blakely Stevens. Third place, Briar Howard. And fourth place went to Cade Post. Now in the ring, we have Class 4 of your British Steer Show. These steers weigh 1319 through 1489. And congratulations back in the Simental ring, your reserve champion Spring Heifer Calf coming out of Class 31. Reserve champion went to Madison Loschke of Kingsdown, Kansas, with Ratliff Luscious 308L. We're now going to start your next division here in the Purebred Simental show. This will be your junior heifer calf division. First class in the ring will be class 33, Purebred Simental heifers born February of 23.
As we get here in this class of British steers, we've got a few different breeds represented here, and I think as you go down and work through it, a lot of you have probably seen me sort cattle before, and if not, you're going to get a little bit kind of where a guy puts some priorities on what he likes. I love this kind of cattle. He is bold and good in terms of his rib, good in terms of his structure. You get behind him and that thing is powerful in terms of his upper hip, still gets some dimension down there in that lower quarter and stifle. You know, obviously he doesn't have the bone in the foot of the calf right there behind us and maybe not as amplified. But boy, when you put that thing together, that's good cattle, got a good look, love the center body, love the freshness of him. I just think that's a really good calf. The one in second, that just really intrigues me when you come out here. He's almost a little bit prospecty in terms of how big-legged and up the way he's upturned in terms of his neck comes out of his shoulder, and he has got muscle and got power. But for me, a little dried out in terms of his mid-third. I'd like to give him a little more boldness to his rear rib and flank. And when he will go ahead and put him in motion, I think he gets just a little choppier and not quite as confident, I guess, in terms of how he moves, or I'd change his movement just a little bit. But boy, he's got some wild pieces that are sure fun to look at and you could sure like. The dark red calf coming out, shoulders back, is incredible. He's opened up behind his shoulders. He's got dimension down his top. He's wide and thick. Got some shape on him, and from a market readiness, he'd be just a little bit further along as you look at him in terms of condition up there in his front end. Kind of throws him out of balance a little bit, but he's got a lot of good. And young man, you did a good job getting him presented. That's a very, very nice calf. The Hereford Marksman coming out here is one that still is very fresh and got a good look. I love his center body. If you look at him, spotting that bottom third of his shape from his forerib back to his rear rib and flank, he balances up good. When you get him out here and you put him in motion, he gets a little more refined in terms of foot size. Maybe doesn't give us quite as much with the base in terms of muscle, but just a good calf. Gives us a really nice looking presentation. Shorthorn steer coming out. He's thick in terms of his top, can give us some look, but I think just structure, rib shape, power is where he gives up a little bit. I like the way he puts some things together to a high degree, but it cleaned his rear hock up a little bit and shape him. The black steer, a big outline calf. We like that about him, but with that, it kind of works to his disadvantage where he needs just a little more center body with some of the big woofy centered ones right there ahead of him, but he's sound structured, good built. Hereford steer round out the class, very smooth made, good in terms of his top line. I like those things about him. I just got to give him a little bit more muscle, a little more bone to compete at this level in the steers, but again, the young lady did a very nice job. My compliments to those exhibitors.
We've got three really nice females here on the top end of this particular class, and all three of them got a little bit of white in their head, and we like that. We find this heifer that we're going to use to win this class to be a whole lot similar to our division winner just a few moments ago. Tyler and I really like this one's structure and build. Is she the biggest one? No. But this thing's still pretty green and skinny neck. Shoulders are laid back into her. She can flat get out and go really, really well. We love her spine and the way that she's level in her tail head and there in her hooks and pins. We'd like to maybe give her a little more attractive head, if you will, on such an elegant body. But at the same time, we love this one's build and structure and think she's just very complete from front to rear. Our next pair of heifers, we find a few things that concern us in their structure, and the young lady's heifer that's going to go out second, you know, you get behind this one and on top of her, she's got a lot of power down her top and certainly a big hip kind of a heifer. Little shorter neck, a little plainer up through the front 1/3 of her body. She wants to be a little more cresty there at the point of the top of her neck. We'd like to lay her shoulders back just a little bit in her, if you will, make her a little flatter and smoother. But if you like power and build and bone, this was your kind, that's fine. When you get behind this heifer, I pointed this out to myself, and I was like, you know, I don't think it's an issue, but I just asked myself is on her, when you get behind her and watch her go away from you, I just think you got to manage that one to make sure she doesn't get outside of herself. But she's so powerful that that's just something that I think we got to watch. The young men's heifer that comes out in third, again, a big, powerful, heavy weight per day kind of a female, a little plainer as you look at her there, maybe just a little more restricted too in her movement. You talk about a skinny one, we've got one here in fourth that's very attractive and balanced, doesn't have the bone or the mass that we find to move her higher, but a very nice heifer that give that one some time, she'll be awfully nice as well. Then we get into a couple heifers there, again, that lack the quality maybe to move up any higher, but a nice high-performing heifer there to come out next. A heifer here, we just like to have a lot more to her and balance her more and give her a little more quality. But a nice female and a nice setup at the top end.
Out here in the champion British steer in your market steer show here at Cattlemen's Congress. Boy, these folks bringing us some quality. We are way up in terms of quality and kind, represent these classifications, these different breeds. Short arm mark calf, I mean, he's weight-wise, he's maybe not as heavy maybe as I'd like to see, but boy, quality is sure there. I think that calf has got a lot of good to him. He's got a good presence, a real good look to him. I think he still bounces up pretty well. He's not a big-bodied individual, but I think his chest floor to his rear rib and flank bounces up pretty well. But the things you love about him is he is extremely muscular and big top. I love his shapeliness to his upper quarter, his inner quarter and stifle. I think that calf's going to have some really good days, and I think he's still one that I'll be in contention in this group, but just maybe just a little lighter in terms of where we look at a little bit for me and my preference. You know, I talked about this calf in the last class, and I just like the way he puts some things together extremely well. His neck comes up high to his shoulder and gives us a really good look. He's maybe not as amplified in terms of his lines as some other show steers, but his center body and freshness and thick bulge in terms of his hip and quarter, I think is so impressive. He still looks really good when you put him on the motion. I just like that calf really well. The steer out of that class behind him, you know, he was a little more amplified in terms of a huge legged, still a good neck, wide, thick topped one. I think a good calf as well. But it's been a good lineup. Folks, put your hand together. I'm going to use this Hereford here out of this second class.
Well, congratulations, your champion British market steer here at the Cattlemen's Congress comes out of Class 4, Styles Patton. We'll now move that second place up and bring in the third place in that class, exhibited by Tucker Fry. And congratulations, reserve champion British steer will also go to Styles Patton. And congratulations, third overall in that division will go to Destiny Potter coming out of Class 3. Congratulations to those exhibitors. We'll now get started with your final division here of our market steers. First class in the ring will be Class 5. These steers weigh from 1082 to 1198. Back over in the Simental ring, results out of our first class in that next division. Class 33, first place, exhibited by Hank Hanza of Lawton, Oklahoma, with KFFF Harley's Diamond 134L. Second place, exhibited by Glenny's McGurk of Kingman, Indiana. Third place went to Cade Hendricks of Okarche, Oklahoma. Fourth place, Kelby Forey of Blossom, Texas. Fifth place was exhibited by Ellie Hurt. And sixth place went to CR6 Cattle. Now in ring one is Class 34. These are purebred Simental heifers born February of 23.
Boy, here, this is a really nice class of females here, a good long way down into the class, and Tyler and I find this to be a class where the quality is really, really good, and we got to kind of be pretty critical on heifers that we really, really like as individuals. But when you get them out here in this particular setting, and especially the 4 that we had pulled up there and re-walked, and this heifer is just the most striking from the side. Elegant through her front 1/3 of her body. She's laid back in her shoulder, right at the point of her shoulder to her tail head. It's just a really nice picture there of a female that's nice in her top. Bigger boned, really nice turn to her rib. We just think this one wins on her presence and her eye appeal. You get behind her, she's got a good bit of mass and power as well. Is she perfect in everything? Maybe not, but you know, that's a heifer that we really, really like a lot. Maybe tone her down just a notch for us, but still, we think she surfaces to the top. Structure alone and movement and mobility, which if you haven't figured by now, we're kind of pretty critical of that, and we think this female here is one that just moves up there because of that. You know, she's a little maybe plainer in her neck, but a heifer that gets out and goes and still shows you a lot of balance and symmetry. We think she fits quite logically into the second spot. The next pair of heifers, you know, in their own right, we really like these heifers, and the young ladies are doing a fabulous job presenting them out here to us. We just like this heifer here to go in 3rd, maybe a little bit more to her. When you get right behind her, we'd like to extend her neck out just a little bit, maybe make her a little more ladylike up through the front 1/3 if you could. Just a nice female there that we feel fits there logically as well. And then the young lady with the baldy heifer, you know, here's one that's extremely long, just doesn't maybe move quite the way that we'd like to see her off of her rear too, but that's a good female in her own right, and we've got to be critical at this stage because our quality is good, but we think that one is got some future as well as we keep her out on the move and maybe she gets better in that regard. But anyway, nice 4 heifers up there. The young man's heifer here we think fits in just being balanced and eye appealing. You know, maybe doesn't have the pizzazz or the power to move up any higher. The same could be said with the young cowboy here. A nice heifer here, just balanced, just doesn't have the bone or mass that we move up any higher. You can go ahead, young buddy. The young lady here is red baldy. I think she just is a nice balanced heifer when you get down here on this end. Just again, and it sounds the same, but a heifer that to me just doesn't have the bone or footwork or balance to move any higher. The next pair of cattle rounding out, similar thing here to say, just we'd like to give them a little bit more look, if you will, and show ring presence to move up any higher. But a nice quadro of heifers up there on the front end.
Over here on the steer side, again, the first class in our crossbred division and a nice class of steers. I think we've got some uniformity or parity of quality, which I just mean by that there's not a lot of spread, and I think you could sure change them up as you go down through there. There was no doubt in my mind when you put everything together, the steer to start with, young lady, he was the one to go to. He is really good in terms of his body. He's good in terms of his balance. He's got as much muscle, not the most amount of muscle in the class, but as much muscle as any of the other ones in the top end. But he puts things together, and most importantly, you put him in motion. He maintains his balance when you put him on the move. I thought that was a good, comfortable steer to go ahead and start with. Black and white one here in second. I think he just kind of keeps working his way up there. As I look at him, he's sound and good. He's still got some bone and dimension. You know, he's a lighter weight steer of the class, but he's still shapely in terms of his top on his loin, in terms of his upper quarter. You know, and I think part of that maturity is going to change where I criticize him. I'd like to blend him shoulder to forerib just a little better, give him a little more power, but he covers the basics really well. He's a sounder version over the steer that I end up putting third. Like I told the young lady this year in third, there's no doubt about it. Body composition-wise, look, he's the heaviest, muscled, the stoutest, widest. He's the best body composition, but where he comes up short, he's just getting too wide. I'm not comfortable enough in terms of his mobility as we put him out here in motion for me to go ahead and use him any higher than third, but I do like his kind extremely well. The gold calf coming out here next, and one I think has just got a really good look. He's got some presence, you should say, about him, but he gets a little flatter and needs a little more dimension in terms of that lower third, and I think part of that's going to come with maturity. He gives you a really good look, but I think when he has his day, the young lady is going to have quite a little bit of fun with him. Same with the white steer. I think he's very attractive when you get him off the side. You get him set up like that, he gives us a really good look, but when I get him in motion, he gets it's a little too flat in terms of muscle shape. I just like to widen him up, start in terms of his chest floor, give him a little more dimension. In his steer showed maybe just a little more maternal in terms of his build. The gray calf is a good center body, good ribbed, good from that standpoint, from a balance, a little bit more compact, but for me, gets a little bit more up in his tail head, a little coarser in terms of his hock, doesn't maybe carry his low quarter quite as deep. The black steer, the big framed, kind of a leaner built one, he's got some top to him, and I do like that about him, but we just got to give him a little bit more dimension, a little bit more pounds to balance up and make him more competitive. But again, nice way to start our crossbred show in the steer division.
Well, congratulations back over in the Simental ring. Results out of Class 34. First place went to McKenna Hoppe of Fremont, Michigan with J. Saul Rosie, 3103L. Second place exhibited by Buck Creek Ranch of Yale, Oklahoma with BCR Time to Shine L034. Third place was exhibited by Cambria Cook, Clovis, California. Fourth place, Blake Kitzmiller of Elk Garden, West Virginia. Fifth place went to Justin Slade. Sixth place in that class will go to Cade Steedman. Seventh place went to CR6 Cattle, and eighth place went to Bo Porter. Now in the ring is Class 35. These are purebred Simental heifers born January of 23. Back over in the steer ring, we have gotten started with your crossbred division, Class 5. First place exhibited by Lainey Holt. Second place went to Augustus Rye. Third place exhibited by Destiny Potter. Fourth place went to Kinley Smith. Fifth place exhibited by Carson Oliver. Sixth place, Savannah Warren, and seventh place went to Romy Rye. Now in the ring is Class 6. These steers weigh from 1212 to 1324.
Really a nice class over here. I think a nice place to start. A pretty captivating heifer in terms of one that, we've looked for some cattle that can move. We've looked for some cattle that balance, and we've sacrificed maybe just a shot of readiness and a shot of power, but that's something both this heifer probably has both of. We see her as a very nice footed female that's very collected on the move. You get her from the side, all of her pieces fit together. You talk about a lot of times to find the sounder when you give up some power. And this heifer is so opened up, you probably wouldn't want her to be any wider, any stouter, or she could start getting a little outside of herself. But we think this is a very, very nice female. The heifer out of our next class is one that when you compare to the the second place heifer, when compared to the heifer in third, we just think she has more substance. She's got more body. She's got more fleshing ability. She's a bigger boned, heavier footed one. The one that comes third probably is a little flatter jointed, maybe a little more collected right there at her hock, but she gets a little straighter in her front end and needs to have more swoop to her belly. That's certainly an advantage. I can make a case to move the baldy up a spot because she's got more depth and she is more sensitive, a little smaller framed, but a heifer that doesn't have quite that eye appeal, the one in front of her. The young lady that concludes the class, really a big topped female that's stout from behind, just a little plainer in her overall appearance.
Well, congratulations over here in the Simental ring, your final class in our junior heifer calf division. First place exhibited by Eli Walther of Centerville, Indiana, with JSOL Rosie 3133L. Second place in that class was exhibited by Mark McElmore of Kingston, Oklahoma. Third place went to JC Massey of Bully, Oklahoma. Fourth place went to Diana Dunstan. Fifth place and congratulations went to CR6 Cattle. We're now going to bring those first and seconds in, select the champion reserve, junior heifer calf.
Over here in your steer side, wow, we sure stepped it right up from quality from that class to this class. And boy, I tell you what, this is a good set of steers to evaluate and break apart. And you've got some small differences to go ahead and put some things together. But there's some little things that you throw together that can really distance themselves out there. Young lady's red steer, gold steer, however you're going to call him, is one to win the class. And boy, he hits me really hard. He puts some things together extremely well. You can sure tell he's got a really good look. He's strong out the top side of his shoulder. He's got some turn down his top and his hip. I like him full rib to rear rib and flank. I think that's important. You put him in motion, he just goes out here and puts everything together. And you talk about cattle that have balance. Doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. When you put them in motion, the way they maintain themselves is how you truly study, in my opinion, structure and kind. And I think that's just a high quality steer that's sure fun to go ahead and start with. You know, we have some gives and takes between second and third, and some things we'll look at. Got a little bit bigger outline steer here in second. He's very attractive. He's bold in terms of his rib. Maybe just needs to be a little deeper in terms of his rear rib and flank. But I tell you where that calf really gets impressive. You get right in there behind him. That is a wide-hipped, wide-built one that does some things really well. There's some of that when we talk about put him in motion. I didn't know if he maintained that balance like I just talked about that gold calf. But of this pair, I think there's just more calf, more width, more power. And I just think that's a good steer to go. Drop his flank a little bit, give him a little bit more lower bone to balance his massive body up. And I think that one sure could compete in terms of a class winner. Steer in third really fits me in terms of how I like cattle. He's a little more moderate sized. But one, he's so good from his shoulder to his forerib and the balance he has in terms of his center body. He's got an air of completeness to him that I can basically be drawn to in terms of still good in terms of angles and build. Just I think as we got back down in here, just ran out of power to the top two right ahead of him. But still my preference of quality and kind is where I still get drawn to him really well. Young lady's doing a nice job. This calf is beautiful colored. He is stout bone, big back, big hip, got some proportion to him. You know, as I read that steer just a little bit, he's a little bit more modern in his kind, but my issue with him is right up there in terms of his front end structure. Just like to see him relax in terms of his shoulder, relax in terms of his ankle, and drop him back a little bit in his knee. But you can't argue the fact that he is stout back, big hipped, got some body and look. Steer coming out here next, this one, when he walked in after that class, you know, he'd have been a hammer in the class right there before him, and he walked in, I thought, boy, I got a calf to tie to. Problem is, we got in a really good classes, they just kept coming at us. I like the freshness to his head and neck. I like his muscularity. He's got some major turn to his rear quarter down there into his stifle. Presented well, does a good job. But for me, shoulder to forerib right there in his heart, I have to them cattle opened up in terms of top and rib shape for me to go ahead and move them up a bit higher, but a very good calf. Great calf. He's really wide when you get there behind him. He's big in terms of his top. He's deceiving as you come through there side by side. You think he's one of the big power up steers, which he is from behind, but we get him on the side. He gets just a little too refined in terms of foot and bone, just doesn't allow him to balance, and he doesn't give us that extra shape from the side we'd like to see. Young lady's black steer coming out here, just a sound, good moving calf, gets a little bit up at his top and just doesn't maintain that balance as we go through. The other three cattle to keep moving for the other side are just good cattle, have a lot of good to them, presented well, just need a little bit different from a balance and structure to go ahead and compete.
Well, I would say all day, as strong and good a division we've had. And, you know, Scott and I agree on every single thing that we're seeing out here. We're just trying to put everything together and make the best decision for today. And so we'll just kind of tell you what we're seeing about them, and then we'll go to show you what we're going to do. The heifer out of the first class, from the ground up, absolutely tremendous in terms of foot size and foot shape and flexibility. Probably the greenest, most youthful heifer that we have out here. when you do compare her to a couple of the other, or the two behind her, she's not quite as tidy right up there in her throat as those two. And the longer that she has gotten out here, she maybe isn't just as strong in her top and dead level at her pin set. But boy, if you have one that's that sound and good structured, I feel like that one's got a chance to be competitive all next year. The one in the middle, maybe the most striking of the three. She is really neat up through her front end, very sleek in her neck, no chest in this heifer, really powerful up high and from behind. I don't know that she goes as good as the two on either side of her. She may be out of her front end, wants to push outside of herself just a little. The one out of the last class is one that we talked awfully well in terms of one that has some of the structural integrity, has the balance, but also she's got the power. You know, you analyze that heifer coming out of the backside of her shoulder. She's so true and dimensional. She's so true in terms of her forerib. She's balanced in terms of her underline. She's set back really nice at her knee. You know, I talked about in class, you don't probably want her any stouter, or I think she could get just a little outside of herself as she goes. I think they've done a nice job keeping this heifer fresh enough and lean enough that she's staying inside of herself and getting around the ring very nicely. We've went back and forth, but we're going to go to show you the way we've decided to do it today, and they could be done different ways down the road, but we truthfully love these heifers. Congratulations. Let's give these exhibitors a round of applause.
Well, congratulations in our junior heifer calf division. You're a champion over here in the Simental ring. Coming out of class 35, that's Eli Walther of Centerville, Indiana, with J. Saul Rosie 3133L. And your reserve champion will come out of that first class in this division. That was Hank Hansa of Lawton, Oklahoma, with KFFF Harley's Diamond 134L. Congratulations to those Simental exhibitors. We're now going to welcome in Class 36. These are purebred Simental heifers born November through December of 2022. Back over to the steer ring results out of Class 6. First place, and congratulations, Georgia Besner. Second place in that class was exhibited by Jessie Lynn Blair. Third place went to Ryder Day. Fourth place exhibited by Lakin Boxwell. Fifth place was exhibited by Sydney Schickendans. Sixth place, and congratulations, went to Jacqueline Chambers. Seventh place was exhibited by Carrington Troyer. Eighth place, Lane Berry. Ninth place was Reese Redwine. 10th place in that class went to Ashlyn Neeb. And 11th place, exhibited by Haley Walker. Now in the ring is Class 7 of our steer show. These steers weigh 1330 through 1399. For those of you just joining us here in the Jim Norick Arena, currently in Ring 1 for your Simental show, we have Class 36. These are purebred Simental heifers, born November to December of 2022. And back over in the steer ring, currently Class 7. Our second to last class is in the ring.
Nice complete female here to start this class, really elegant through her front 1/3. We think she's as mobile as anyone in this particular class, and you get behind her and she's got dimension and power in her. But what we really like is her eye appeal and softness. She's really good in her forerib. She's set back in her knee. Just a nice complete female to start this particular class. Then we got a pair of red heifers here. We think our second place heifer here just kind of fits the bill, if you will, in terms of the look and style that we have of that class winner. She's wider sprung, maybe wider in her whole skeletal makeup, maybe even more than the class winner, but at the same time, she's a little bit shorter in her rib shape, a little bit shorter in her back, but really a nice, attractive kind of a female to come there second. The young lady's red baldy heifer, we really didn't have them placed much at all when we came around there, and she was fighting her going out the ring. But here's a heifer that we'll give you that she's a little plainer through the front 1/3 of her body. a heifer that, but when you put that one in motion, we think she just has to move herself on up the line just because she can get out and motor as well as any of them in the ring. The next three heifers here are very similar in their type and kind. They're eye-appealing, attractive kind of heifers, big-barreled heifers that certainly have rib shape and dimension, and you get behind them and they all have some structural problems that just don't let them move out off their hind two the way that Tyler and I would like them, but a really nice complete one up on the front end.
Well, congratulations over in the Simental ring. Results out of Class 36. First place exhibited by Zachary Buchanan, Waxahachie, Texas, with J. Saul Rosie, 2637K. Second place go to Callie Baldwin of Winchester, Indiana, with J. Saul TSSC Red Rosie, 2621K. Third place exhibited by Megan Brown, XTB Cattle Company, and Elmore Cattle Services of Wacomas, Oklahoma. Fourth place was exhibited by Madden Ross of Murray, Nebraska. Fifth place, and congratulations, Colton Franz. And sixth place in that class will go to White Wing Simentals. Now in the ring, Class 37, purebred Simental heifers born October of 22.
Welcome to the steer show on this side here, and I tell you that water gets deep pretty good. I talked to that one boy walking by, and that song said, "If you got a fast car," well, this is sure a fast track out here in this group. You know, we can talk about how good they all are, and I think they're really nice. But this top pair of black steers to look, I think, is where the contest lies, and you go out there. So they have their differences in where you're at. So just get back into what your preference is. So if you've listened to me talk before and you see where they're at, this one here that I start with and where he just lights me up, he is so good in terms of balance. He blends so good as you talk about shoulder to full rib. He's still big backed. He's still big hipped. Got some bone to him. But when you look at that lower full rib and blend that back to his rear rib and flank and his squareness, the way his tail head's laid back in there, I think, boy, that just a really, really good individual that just lines some things up for what I've been talking about quite a little bit. Now, there's no doubt we got a little stouter hipped one, a little bit more shapely here in second. He, too, is bold in terms of his rib. I like that about him, but just a little bit of shoulder just doesn't transition quite as seamlessly as the steer that I chose to start with. But again, a high-quality steer and a really, really nice pair. You know, I like the white steer extremely well. He's fresh in terms of his front end. He's very muscular in terms of his top, got some shape, got some dimension to him, still has some rib shape. I just don't know comparatively to the two right in front of him if he's quite as ready in terms of just just power, where we just comes out of his shoulder into his forearm just a little bit. Now he's unique. He gets a little bit far forward in terms of his shoulder standing there. I thought we put him in motion. I thought he got out there and moved really, really well. And I think the advantage standing there is where this silver one here in fourth, he's big-bodied. He's just that extra length of body to him. But when he gets there, he just wants to kind of fight, keeping his head up. We put him in motion. He kind of fights a halter and maybe wants to get a little far forward in terms of his shoulder. But, boy, that's a high-quality calf and a good steer class. The gray steer, really good when he gets standing there. I like the way they got this one clipped and dialed in. They got everything out of him. He balances well. He, too, is shapely in terms of his hip, good in terms of his squareness. For me, we put him in motion. He just doesn't have enough body, just doesn't have enough lower third dimension to him. Gets a little choppy as we get out here. And the biggest thing we talk about is just maintaining balance. We put him out in the move. And then a question a little bit in terms of shape. I think it just, but still a very intriguing calf, kind of captivating from his color. You can sure like and appreciate. Young man steer here, big, stout, powerful one. You like the extra bone and foot and power he gives us, and he's still good in terms of, flexibility. He gets out here, but he just maybe doesn't blend quite as well as those cattle right there in front of him. Doesn't handle himself collectively as well, but is still a good, big, powerful calf. Really good looking steer coming out here. Neck comes up out of his shoulder. He's got some shape to him. I thought just a little edgy in terms of his structure compared to some of the leader ones as we get right there ahead of him. Next steer, big backed, again, very, very muscular. We just got to give him a little more balance from the side by dropping his rear flank and give him a little more fullness in terms of his forerib. But boy, you sure like his muscularity and stoutness. Same another one just to take him from movement, but he's a big back steer that still, when we stand him still, he gives us a good look from a rib standpoint. Young man steer coming around the corner, and he's a big, powerful dude. Again, we change his structure. And then some of the other three cattle coming out here, we like the look they have. They just need a little bit more to them from a muscle balance and finish standpoint to go ahead and compete any higher, but still well presented, well shown. Really, really nice class of steers.
Another really nice class over here of falls. I think the female that we start with is kind of the combination of the two right behind her. She has the balance and the eye appeal. She's got the structure that's as good as any. And then on top of that, she's got power and dimension. I think a heifer, when you analyze her on the move, she is the truest in the way that she comes and goes and the most flexible. This heifer's also really long from the of her shoulder back to her pins. I think a female, it just does a lot of nice things. The heifer that goes second, I think when you compare her to the one right behind her, she's got more eye appeal up through her front end. She's a little sleeker neck and tighter chested. Right now, she's farther along, and she is more powerful and more dimensional in her upper skeleton. Heifer, when compared to the one in front of her, maybe doesn't move quite as collected as you set him in motion. And that's we think this heifer that comes out next is very sound. We think she's youthful. We think she's fresh in her condition. I think you get that when bred, and she's really going to open up. You get a little of that front end sucked down. I think that one's just a functional female that's got a bright future. The heifer that comes out next is one that's presented nicely. I think when you compare her to the one behind her, she's prettier fronted, she's more relaxed in her spine, and she's leveler out over her hip. The heifer that comes next probably is a bit set farther back at her knee just a little bit than the one in front of her, but she's wanting to get up in her top, and neck comes a little low out of her shoulder. That's an advantage that goes to the heifer right behind her, as she is a little more up-headed and her neck ties a little higher. Just a little bit, this heifer, her balance is off. She gets a little more chest. She's tucked up in her flank a little bit. Doesn't have the balance of the ones in front of her. Then the young lady's baldy heifer coming out, one that's very feminine, just not as stout and powerful as the ones in front of her.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the steer ring, results out of Class 7. First place was exhibited by Mason Grady. Second place went to Kate Gensini. Third place exhibited by Ryder Day. Fourth place exhibited by Eli Besner. Fifth place went to Madeline Chickendans. Sixth place exhibited by Rylan McQuay. Seventh place went to Ashlyn Vargas. Eighth place, and congratulations, goes to Ellie Hurt. Ninth place was exhibited by Kenley Harris. 10th place went to Cutter Pachasik. 11th place went to Emery Cowley. 12th went to Briar Howard, and 13th went to Gunnar Howard. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors currently in the rings. Our final class of crossbred steers. These steers weigh 1,400 to 1,495. Back over in the Simental ring, results out of class 37. First place exhibited by Circle M Farms and Rockin' P Livestock, Maysville, Kentucky, with RPCMFM Wildflower K080. Second place in that class went to McKenna Hoppe of Fremont, Michigan, with JSOL TSSC Rosie 2620K. Third place exhibited by Circle M Farms and Paisley Nelson, Platte City, Missouri. Fourth place in that class was exhibited by McKenna Snodgrass of Brock, Nebraska. Fifth place went to Morgan Jackson, Kaufman, Texas. Sixth place will go to McCoy Landwehr of Enid, Oklahoma. Now in the ring, Class 38, Purebred Simental Heifers, born September of 2022. This will be your final class in this division.
Tyler and I told ourselves we were going to have a lot of fun out here today, and we certainly have, and that's what makes it special. But in this particular class of September's, this red heifer we think surfaces to the top just because of her balance and symmetry, really level in her top and out through her hip. You'd like to tick her chest back up in her maybe just a little bit for long term, but she just moves to the top here just based on those traits, and we just think she's the most eye appealing one in this particular class. The young man's heifer, you can go ahead, sweetheart. The young man's heifer that comes out here next, again, this has gotten power and the larger framed of the heifers out here. That doesn't bother us at all. But we think she falls in logically just because she's nice and neat up through her front end. She's laid back in her shoulders. She wants to labor there as you get her on the move to get her around the other one. Not that the other one's perfect, but we certainly have some issues there in her mobility. The young lady's black heifer that rounds out the class, a really sleek neck, feminine, angular kind of a heifer. She just, when you put her in motion, she really wants to get outside of herself off the rear two there. But a fun class for Tyler and I to talk about there, and just a nice red heifer at the top. got more power in. She got more power in her from behind, if you ask me. She's not as tidy in her front and in her neck. If you think that I love that one. I love her down in the bottom. I like her four-rib. I think the other one's plenty. We used a big one, so I can't do that. I'm good with that. Trust your judgment.
As we get out here for this division, I'm sure it's repetitive, but we've just been impressed. And it's you can't really say it too many times because the people that are out here in this lineup, they may not have not got appreciated earlier. So what a lineup of cattle that we have here. We'll tell you kind of what we see. In that first class, two real nice heifers. They were the two soundest structured ones within the class, but the heifer that won the class was just longer and more extended and more elegant out over her front end. A heifer that gives you a dead beautiful look from the side. There's probably stouter ones out here. That heifer is a really long strided heifer. She can get a little wide up front sometimes when she comes at you, but I think we've seen a lot of that today, even on sound cattle that are set back in their knee. The heifer out of the next division is one that you really like the foot size and bone and the shape that she has to her foot. I think she's another sound individual, one that when you compare to the heifer in front of her, you really like maybe a little better in terms of her forerib. She probably comes out a little stouter out behind her shoulder and from behind. She's not quite as long and extended up through her front end, but I think when you watch the cattle go, I think she's set back at her knee a little better and stays within herself up front. Just the one right behind her is one that on the stand, very similar. I think another really striking heifer. She follows the one that beat her in class in terms of power when you compare her to out here. But she's maybe not as good in terms of her structure and length of stride and the way she's designed in her stifle and her hind leg. The heifer out of the last class really won that class in terms of balance and flexibility. A heifer that you really appreciate the cowiness of that female. You compare her to the two in front of her, not quite the overall quality and balance, but we think it comes down to three baldy heifers out here, and we like all three of them really well, but we think that there's one that kind of puts it all together into one package, and we'll go show you which one that is.
Well, congratulations over here in the Simental ring. Your champion senior heifer calf coming out of class 37. That was Circle M Farms, Rock and P Livestock, Maysville, Kentucky, with RPCM FM Wildflower K080. And reserve champion to come out of class 36. That was Zachary Buchanan of Waxahachie, Texas, with JSOL Rosie 2637K. We're now going to move into your next division here in the Purebred Simental ring. This will be class 39 Purebred Simental heifers born June through July of 22.
Well, that was a challenging display of trying to keep my concentration the whole time. I lost track a time or two. I asked Mary Lou, I said, where am I at? Well, you put 2 of them back. I said, now where was I going to go? And she said, well, I'm not sure where you was going to do. So go ahead and put him around. That gray calf will be second if you can. Just bring him around. This is a nice pair of calves. And I will tell you, the young man that had that one out there, it's just kind of, some days we have things go good and some days they don't. He was standing right there in a good spot. The first one took off, the second one went and rolled up underneath it, and he just took his calf, kind of went forward. It wasn't that his calf tried to get away. He was just trying to move when the young lady startled him. But there was no doubt when I went through and looked at these cattle and kind of studied them, that this was my pair of cattle when they first walked in and they win. I think we got back down here and you get out here and you give them a look to them. You know, the steer to go ahead and start with, he's what I've been talking about today and talked about in that class before. You know, he's really good just in terms of center body balance. He's got some stoutness. He's got some thickness to him. He's maybe not quite as attractive in terms of his front end, putting a little bit of fat there, but he's big top, big hipped, and I just like that balance. I like that kind, and I think he's just got a little bit more in terms of foot size to give him that extra balance. This gray calf gives us a really good look. He's good in terms of center body. He's really good in terms of his angles. He bounces up well, I think, really good. He's got some power. Might have the slight advantage, a little more thickness to get right in there behind him. But for his body mass comparatively, I'd like to stouten him up at the ground in terms of foot and bone. But a really, really good steer nonetheless. We got the black and white calf, and this thing is so captivating when you stand there and look at him. He gives us so much length and extension in body. He's big top, got some hip to him, still has some bone. You know, and I think he's a little uniform in terms of his body, not extra sappy, but yet when you get him out here and go, he just shows me one maybe just a little bit tentative in terms of his movement, kind of getting up there in terms of maturity, but still a good look and show steer that we can sure tie into. The Bronco-headed one, I think, is one that, gives us a really good look from the side. Young man, you do a really good job of showing, because every time I went over and looked at him, you give me just a spot-on good look. I like that. But as I break him apart, I just got to expand him right there in his forearm, give him a little more dimension, a little more softness to that upper turn to his top for him to be in there. But I love his color pattern. I like his look and like his presence. I like the big stout calf comes out here next. He's soft in terms of his center, soft in terms of his build. The biggest thing for him, we're just going to change his foot. The angle, he kind of gets a little awkward, I think, at times in terms of underneath himself, in terms of the way he comes out of his shoulder, but still a good beefy kind of calf. Young man steer again, where I like this one, his center body, full rib to rear rib and flank. He gets a little jammed up in terms of his head, neck, and shoulder. I do like his balance, a little upright in terms of his shoulder. The gray calf has got a really good look in terms of presence, just not soft enough for me, both in terms of structure and center body. I like his shapeliness, I like his look. And we get out here this next draft of cattle, got some power. We just change them in terms of structure, change them a little bit in terms of balance. But a really good class. My compliments to all these exhibitors.
Single heifer here to start our summer borns, and here's one that we all talk this way, that could stand a lot of competition, but all you gotta do is look at this particular heifer and sure see that she can. She's really robust in her forerib and laid back at her shoulder structure, and as you get her on the move, she's a sound heifer. It gets out and goes really, really nice. You get behind her, she's got a lot of power and shape and mass to her. A real nice single entry heifer.
Well, congratulations over here in the Simental ring. First place out of Class 39 went to Marcy Howard of Catawba, North Carolina, with TL Miss Ellie 131K. We're now going to welcome in Class 40. These are purebred Simental heifers born May of 22. Back over in the steer ring, results out of your final class of crossbred steers. Class 8. First place went to Madison Shout. Second place went to Keegan O'Leary. Third place, and congratulations, will go to Paisley Wisniewski. Fourth place, exhibited by Harrison Blay. Fifth place in that class will go to Coy Moonin. Sixth place, Quentin Harper. Seventh place was exhibited by Kyra Noble. Eighth place went to Jade Stone. Ninth place will go to Landry Fuss. 10th place, exhibited by Destiny Potter. 11th place in that class went to Chandler Thompson. We're now going to bring the first and seconds in and select a champion reserve exotic market steer. For those of you sitting ringside, we are going to select the top 5, and our crossbred steers, again, will be selecting a top 5 crossbred steers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we could have your attention up here at the stage in the Jim Norick Arena, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Tyler Norvell, board member here at the Cattlemen's Congress.
Well, thank you for being here today at our Market Steer Show. This is a vision that Gerald Callahan always had, was to make sure we always had a Market Steer Show here at Cattlemen's Congress. We know there's a lot going on this time of year, but we're very grateful that you came. And after we had the show the first year, he told me that a gentleman named Kenny Herzog reached out to him and wanted to make this show bigger and better and put more money and more financial support behind it. And Kenny has held up to his promise and done a tremendous job to make sure we have the premiums and the money to give out that these young people deserve. And Kenny's here with us today, and I just want to give Kenny an opportunity to say a few words if you give him a nice round of applause.
Thank you, Tyler. 3 years ago, my wife and I, Julie, came out here to the Cattlemen's Congress, and those of you that know me, it'd been 20 years since I'd been to a livestock show. And Gerald came up into the stands and visited with Julie and I. And a lot of you guys don't know this, but Gerald taught Julie and I 43 years ago. That was a minute or so ago. And I told him then, I said, look, Julie and I we would like to help with this. And so since 2002, we've been honored to be able to help. And all of you sponsors, I want to thank you guys on behalf of myself and Julie, and I'm sure everyone at the Cattlemen's Congress and all the volunteers. You can't do something like this by yourself. You guys all know that. And I'm not a very emotional person, those of you that know me, but Joe Callahan, he inspired me. I went to him 43 years ago and I said, look, I don't think I'm going to go to Stillwater. I don't want to hang around here in Miami at NEO, but I want to get into a business that's more customer serviced. And 3 days later, I owned a convenience store because of Gerald Callahan, and he inspired me, and I'm sure he's touched a lot of people in this ring, and it's our turn now to step up. Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you, Tyler Norvell and Kenny Herzog. We certainly appreciate your support here at the Cattlemen's Congress. If you're once again just joining us here in the Jim Norick Arena, currently in Ring 1, we have your Class 40 of our Purebred Simental show. This will be the final class in our intermediate heifer division. Back over in Ring 2, we have all of your class winners and prospective seconds to select the top 5 crossbred steers.
As we get out here in champion lineup and Mr. Herzog, we sure need people to be able to do that for us. And I know he give a, good start for Gerald. And, and I was just going to take the time to, say a few words myself about Gerald, because Gerald's very inspirational and very impactful in terms of my life as well. And as you talk about Gerald, I was honored to walk in his shadow as a livestock judging team member at Oklahoma State University. It meant a lot to me for there, and I give you a little different perspective maybe than some others by doing that. The other thing we did that I didn't realize, maybe I just thought it was kind of a moment in time until we got to his obituary and some things talked about. But I had played a fair amount of basketball with Gerald as well. We played in a winter league there in Stillwater, played some pickup games. The first meaningful conversation I had with Mark Johnson, even though I knew him, was on a pickup game Gerald brought up, and we went and played. So we had a lot of talking back and forth. So when I think of Gerald and some things from my standpoint, I heard a kind of a quote the other day that kind of sat with me, well before this, and kind of how it goes. If you know Gerald, this should make sense to you. But the old saying goes, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, and Gerald sure thought someone else could go ahead and be the loser. If you didn't know, that guy was ultra competitive, and it didn't matter if you was judging, playing basketball, playing pool, playing pitch. He was there to win, and he's going to tell you about it. But when I came down after Blackhawk and tried to make my decision of where I wanted to go to a senior college, I had never met him before. I had seen him. He had a presence from the beginning, bigger than life. I rode down here with a teammate of mine at Blackhawk, and it didn't take me long because, he's very confident, he's sure of himself, and he's a natural leader because he can kind of work to the moment. And I knew right then I was going to go to Oklahoma State, and I wanted to be on a national champion livestock judging team at that point. So as we worked out, as we go through, and Gerald give me that opportunity, or I should probably change that. Gerald never give you anything. He gave you the right to earn the opportunity to do that. He was very demanding. He had high expectations. And it wasn't always easy, but it was very rewarding. And the neat tie that we have, I was able to judge on Gerald's first national champion team at Oklahoma State. So that's a special memory to be right there in the front row with him. And I've always said that. And a lot of you guys know me. I am a true blue OSU guy. I got black and orange in my closet all over the place. I've got a lot of friends that are near and dear to me in the state of Oklahoma and have been very good to me. But there's no doubt I would not have went to OSU if it wasn't for Gerald Callahan. As we get there, and some things that he did, just the same as Mr. Herzog, he was a very successful person, but he was giving. He's been impactful for everybody in this ring, in this industry, in the state of Oklahoma. And I'm going to tell you, moms and dads, grandpas and grandmas, and college students, you can relate. You're either going to go to work tomorrow, you're going to make some more money. You're going to sell some more cattle, you'll make money. Your business is going to make you money. But what you can't do is you cannot buy no more time. The good Lord has allowed you as much time as you're going to have, and his most important thing is his selflessness to give time. Just the same as Mr. Herzog to do that, Jimmy Harrell, Bob Funk for what they give back, our volunteers in the ring that are all around. Those are the things that are most important, so it just takes a little bit. If you could, you don't have to run a show. All you got to do is smile and say something nice to somebody and give them their time. And that's why I looked at every one of them kids in the eyes and give them my moment of time with them. And I think that is just so valuable. Another thing I love about this industry, and I'm going to touch base, and I'm sorry I'm talking a lot on this side, but you know one thing about this industry, if you go this side, you know, you want to beat you, you want to beat you, you want to beat you. We all want to win when we get to the show. But if something happened to you, everybody's going to drop everything, and you're going to forget about the competition side. We're going to help them out because we are a family, and we lost a big part of our family, and it's just devastating, you know, to have and go through. So, Gerald, my friend, till I see you again, rest in peace. I'll get out here and give you a 5. It's an awesome steer show. Absolutely been humbling to do. So give these exhibitors a nice round of applause.
Well, congratulations, your champion exotic market steer coming out of Class 7. That's Mason Grady. We're now going to welcome in that third place in the class was Ryder Day. And congratulations, reserve champion exotic steer coming out of Class 7 once again, Kate Gensini. And I'll bring in that fourth place in Class 7. And congratulations, third overall exotic steer exhibited by Madison Shout coming out of Class 8. And congratulations, fourth in that division will go to Keegan O'Leary coming out of Class 8. Again, that's fourth overall exotic market steer. And congratulations, fifth overall, exhibited by Ryder Day, coming out of Class 7. Once again, congratulations to all of our steer exhibitors. We'll return back at 4 o'clock here in Ring 2.
Over here in the Simental ring, I think a really close pair up here on top, and we went back and forth, and we really were trying to not just give Chad respect and let him finish, but let Gerald be respected and the show be respected. But, you know, we went back and forth on these two, and there's a couple things we want to change about each one of them, but at the same time, we think they're both really good. The heifer that we start the class with, if you could just take her chest away, I don't think it would be that difficult for us. I think this heifer is really nice in terms of her size, her design. We think of the two, she's probably the more feminine about her head and crest of her neck, We think she probably, when she comes at you, is more within her skeleton and doesn't push quite as hard outside of herself. Just really cowy in her rib. I think a heifer that's a touch more moderate and toned down, but I don't think she has the freshness up through her front end and through her chest that the heifer in second does. The heifer in second has a great big foot, a really nice hind leg to her. Like I said, she is a little better in her chest floor than the one in front of her. A female at the same time. We do want to change the crest of her neck just a little bit, and a heifer that sometimes when she stops, she wants to get pretty wide standing up front. But we like that one a great deal. We went ahead and went with the one that was a little more inside of herself, a little more cowy and toned down. The one coming out next is a female that's super fresh as well in her appearance. A female that's pretty sound when you get her out in the move. She just gives up so much volume and mass and power to the heifers on either side of her. But we liked her freshness and her structure over the big power heifer that comes out next. The heifer that comes out next, no doubt, I mean, if we want all the power and dimension, this is the one. And, if we wanted to tone the one in second down, maybe we do here too. I mean, these are May intermediate heifers, and there's a lot of cow there. She's a good female, a female that's pretty good in terms of her structure, but we just want to tone her down a bit. But we think there's so much more power and dimension in her than the one that comes next. This female's very elegant and feminine in her design, just not as opened up, gets a little straighter out of her shoulder.
Well, congratulations in Class 40 over here in the Simental ring. First place was exhibited by Circle M Farms and Rock and P Livestock of Maysville, Kentucky, with Rock and P Built to Love K067. Second place in that class exhibited by Blake Bruns of North Platte, Nebraska. Third place went to Addison Bartlow and Adcock Landing Cattle of Monticello, Illinois. Fourth place in that class will go to Ferguson Cattle Company. Fifth place went to Dakota Lynn Franz of Waller, Texas. We're now going to bring the first and seconds in. Select a Champion Reserve Intermediate Heifer.
Over here for our intermediate champion, we've got three really nice females here, and the one that wins that first class, just as I talked to her in class, just ultra complete, a single entry. You just think this one brings a lot of balance and symmetry. Just a really high quality female that's big footed, nice bone. She's nicer up through the front 1/3 of her body maybe than the heifer that comes out of our second class there, but as Tyler talked to her in class, just was so massive in power and able to get out and move, and we liked her head about her, maybe like to extend her neck a little bit, but I think we've got two high quality females that win that class. I won't reiterate what Tyler said about the big power female that was second in that last class, but we think we've got a nice division here, nice representative of our summerborns, and Tyler will show you what we like.
Well, congratulations in your intermediate division. Champion coming out of Class 39. That's Marcy Harward with TL Miss Ellie 131K. And reserve champion will go to Circle M Farms and Rock and P Livestock. We're now going to welcome in Class 41. These are purebred Simental heifers born March through April of 22.
If there was ever a class that no heifer deserved to be on the bottom of, it would certainly be this one. These females out here are ones that I would think everybody that loaded one of the heifers in this class thought, we got a shot. This one looks as good as she ever has. And, I'm sure there's some disappointment down on the bottom end, but this is very, very close and very, very good. Once we got this pair of heifers up here, the longer they were out here, the less close they became for us. And we know that the one that wins isn't the biggest and the most overwhelming, but what she is she's the freshest, she's the truest in terms of her structure. We love her angles. We love that whenever she goes, she stays within herself the best. We love this heifer in terms of her underline. When you compare her to the heifer behind her, she's trimmer and truer through her underline from her navel back into her udder. We just think she's a very sound, fresh female that doesn't have as much hair as some of the other ones, but is one that for us is very hard to pick a hole in, and that's why she's going to win the class. The heifer that comes out next is another one that great in terms of the angle to her shoulder and her front end structure, very fresh up through her front end. She's coming into gestation and making a fairly nice udder in terms of teat size. We just want to trim her up in her lower 1/3, a heifer that we think too, whenever she get her out on the move, she pushes more off of both ends than the one that wins. A heifer that doesn't really fit, but one that Scott and I really like is the heifer in third. She is a bigger framed, longer bodied heifer, but with that stature and size, still has a lot of elegance up through her front 1/3. She's still really long and really deep. We want to change her in the way she comes up just a little in the middle of her back, and we just want her to fit a little nicer with her contemporaries within this class. A heifer that we like on the stand in terms of broodiness and cowiness is the Baldy that comes next. We love her openness of skeleton. We love her hip and hind leg, but with some of that openness she has in terms of her shoulder when she gets out and moves, she wants to push her head down and roll out of her front end. The heifer we have coming out next we thought was just a little more powerful than the one behind her. When you analyze these two, we thought she was maybe just a bit more collected when you get around in motion, handled her loin and tail head just a bit better, but really nice class. We found the complete fault-free one came into the class for us.
Well, congratulations in Class 41. First place to go to Kelton Arthur of Stillwater, Oklahoma with SBC She's It 807K. Second place in that class, Sarah Sullivan with J. Saul Rosie 2400K. Third place went to Morgan Jackson, Kaufman, Texas. Fourth place, Sadie Romson of Cushing, Oklahoma. Fifth place went to McKenna Snodgrass of Brock, Nebraska. And sixth place to go to Sheffield Ranch of Poolville, Texas. We're now going to welcome in Class 42. These are purebred Simental heifers born January through February of 2022. This will be the final class in this division.
At this particular point in time here in this heifer show, but in these heifers' lives, Tyler and I are in total agreement here that we've got three really nice heifers up here at the top end of this class, and we're going to elect to lead off with the one that we just unquestionably feel that she is the soundest of the three heifers that we have in here. She's probably the freshest through the front 1/3 of her body. We like her hip structure and the way that she gets out and moves with a lot of reach off of both ends. Just a nice complete female there to start this class. The next pair of heifers might be a little bit closer for us maybe, but here's a heifer here that's really more extended, that comes out in second through the front 1/3 of her body. We like the rib shape that she has. We like the power that she has, and she certainly stands down on more bone and a bigger foot than the heifer in third. But so that's why she slides there. Just a nice heifer here as well. The young man's heifer that comes out in third, the Baldy, just a complete kind of a female that is kind of real world, a little plainer maybe up through the front 1/3 of her body, but still she gets out and travels well. Maybe wants to come up in her top ever so slightly when you get her on the move, but we think a nice trio of heifers here. Then we had some conversations, and these people deserve to get a good look, for us to get a good look at it. The young lady's heifer that goes out next, not quite as much to her, but ultra sleek about her front end. When she gets out on the move, she brings her top up a little more than ideal. Kind of wants to get outside of herself, the same as the heifer at the bottom. If you want more power there, that you pick your poison. But we don't think either one of those on the bottom are sound enough to go higher.
Well, congratulations over here in the Simental ring. Results out of our final class of heifers. First place exhibited by Ty Kitzrow of St. Charles, Iowa with RF Level Up K121. Second place went to Buck Creek Ranch of Yale, Oklahoma with BCR Missed Time to Shine 085K. Third place in that class went to Circle M Farms and Rockin' P Livestock. Fourth place go to Morgan Jackson. Fifth place went to Elmore Cattle Services, Pepper Elmore, XCB Cattle Company, Ivy and Sons.
As we get back out here, another nice division, classes that were amazing to sort. We get back out here, we have couple class winners that within their class were the two that we thought were the most ideal in terms of their structure. You know, we've been able to find cattle all day that have good angles and good set off of both ends of their skeleton. We've struggled today when you watch a lot of the cattle come at you, pushing out of their outside and getting a little wide standing up front. And that's something we like really well about both these heifers. We know that the two heifers out of the first class are probably more similar in terms of size and type. The heifer out of the second class is big. You know, there's a lot of heifers that we said today, we toned down a little bit, but none of those heifers probably handled themselves on the move as good as this heifer. A heifer that when you analyze her, she's got great set to her knee and slope to her shoulder. A heifer that balances well. The one that was